Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another Saturday. Siri Emerald. Wednesday Scale News and Reviews. Live unboxing. And today we are doing TB League slash Phicen Vampirella, the Jose Gonzalez version. So these are the original Phicen figures. This is a base that came with one of them. This is the base that came with the other one. For space purposes, I store them on one base. So obviously, we're going to have a new one. But this was the original Vampirella that came out 2015 or 16, I don't remember. And it was called the Asian version. And that was the only one that was announced at the time. And the big question came, is there going to be a non-Asian version? And nobody had an answer really at that point. I bought the Asian version, and then then this one came out about a year or two later, and it was called the SHCC version, Vampirella. And they actually came with two different outfits. The outfits actually are different, and the head sculpts are totally different. And the accessories that came with them were slightly different. This one came with more accessories, if I remember correctly, a cloak and a crossbow, some other things. And then they announced about a year ago the Jose Gonzalez version, and then they announced, no wait, this is the, gosh darn it, this is the 50th, yeah, the Jose Gonzalez 50th anniversary version. Now they've announced another one. The named after a woman who was supposed to be cast as her, I guess, and she wasn't. And I passed on that one, but I got the Jose Gonzalez. So one thing I don't like about these Phicen figure stands is that there's no hole, there's no figure stand to stand them on. It's really a display diorama, and they're precariously balanced on here, literally. They are standing on their own 2 feet. There's nothing supporting them. I blow on them hard enough, they would fall clean off. Now, looking at the two of them right here, as I see them from behind, which I never see them from behind, I'm always looking at them from the front. Her hair actually is blacker than her hair, and it's longer. Her hair is longer than her hair. And I never really paid any attention to that before until right now. Let's see if I can turn these around without knocking them over. I'm probably going to take them off the stand eventually because they're not going to stand up more than likely through any bumping of this table. Let's see if I can't turn them around. Show you the back of them so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Phicen really does a beautiful job on human form and on the female body especially. There, I don't know if you can see, but her hair is like black. Her hair is a really dark brown. Now, it's black, but I think people would probably call that dark brown. And her hair, truthfully, is like jet black. Now, without her standing next to her, I would say her hair is black, but only because seeing them side by side, you see it's really a dark brown. And that's cool. And you can also see the length. This actually comes all the way down to her butt. This comes in the middle of her back. So there's a lot of differences in these. The boots are different. The suits are different. This one's made of like a different material than this one. And the jewelry that it came from were different. So you're really not buying something with just a different head sculpt. They really are different figures. So I'm anticipating and or slash hoping to get that same experience with this Jose Gonzalez. Carol somebody is the new Vampirella that's available to be purchased brand new. And I think it's still available, to tell you the truth. Noble, how you doing? Save on Mason, welcome, welcome. Nice big box. So if I remember correctly, she came with a small box, and this one came with a big box like this. The same thing happened with the Lady Deaths that came out. First Lady Death was in a small box. Second Lady Death was in like a much bigger box. Don't run with your scissors. I don't know what I did with my pocket knife. Execular Replicas also is involved in this, evidently. And Dynamite. We have a lot of names on the outside of this box. So when buying from the Big Bad Toy Store, they box it separately, which keeps everything nice and secure and safe in transport. They include a bill for your records, and then they include their advertisement of things that they've got going on for sale at the store. Robert Justafan, how you doing? The only figure I have is Princess Leia Episode 4. Great figure, Star Wars. And Doctor Who, Rose Tyler. Rose. Oh, that was cool. I like that when, I haven't watched Doctor Who in several years. I started watching him like in 2007 with whoever the doctor was at that point. And Rose was, of course, that's when Rose was introduced. And then I liked it when, I don't remember how many doctors it was after that doctor. And they did like this time traveling. Well, gee, hello. We're talking about Doctor Who. There's no sense in even mentioning the word time travel because he's a Time Lord and that's what he does. Anyhow, they got back with Rose again in the whole 9 yards. It was a really cool episode that they did that on. Really cool episode. How's that Rose look? And who made her? The only one I get after that probably would be Black Widow. Yeah, Black Widow, right? Or Jamie Summers is the $1 million woman, right? Or Linda Carter. Come on, right? Classic Wonder Woman. Vampirella looking good. How are you doing? Doing good, CBS Sci-Fi. Thank you. I think it's funny in the Doctor Who shows when he'll be exploring about and whatever else, and he'll encounter somebody who'll say that he's the Doctor, and for real, he has no idea whether or not it is a future rendition of himself, or it's some lunatic that just claims to be a doctor, or if it's like a medical doctor, or who it is. So he has to spend some time trying to determine if this guy's a legit himself, the doctor, or not. So here's something in here. Something. Open that up. And then this would be, obviously, our figure. I'm really getting nervous about Vampirella standing here. I'm probably going to have to set them down just to calm my nerves here in a second. Oh, what was I going to say? The Doctor Strange arms. By the way, I figured out probably the best way to display these. I'll talk about them real quick, a little side note. In this configuration as such, if any of you went with this, or if you remember the show the other day, you can see how I have it on the pose stand right there in this manner, okay? And then you would place Doctor Strange here and put his cloak here in between these guys. So then these arms would be in front of the cloak, and these arms will be behind the cloak. And this is just setting as such. This is definitely the way to display these with your Doctor Strange. And what I think I'm going to do is get the Infinity War Doctor Strange, put him in here in this setup as such. In case you're curious, I've decided that's the best way to display him. So then you'll have the cloak behind these two arms and then in front of the rest of the arms. So behind these two arms, in front of the rest of the arms. And these arms will actually be, his head will be here, so these arms will be sticking out from around the cloak. So all the hands will be visible. I can't. I'm about to be a nervous wreck with these ladies standing here. They've got to be laid down. I tell myself that what I should do is drill a hole in these dioramas and put his figure base stand into the base. I just can't bring myself to do that. But give you an opportunity to give you guys a close-up of these. See if this lighting is as good or as bad. So this is the SHCC, the second Vampirella to come out. And I believe she has no nipples, by the way. So there's no nipple there. Just a bare breast. And this suit is kind of a vinyl with the little gold emblem on her crotch being raised above the vinyl. Like it's added onto it. And the Asian version, which is what it's called, excuse me, yeah, the Asian version, her suit is kind of like a thin cloth, not quite like a neoprene, but something of that sort. And again, no nipples on her either. And the little gold emblem is like printed into the cloth. And that's the two Vampirellas. I just don't want to knock these girls over. I really don't. Let's open accessories first. The Day of the Doctor. The one where they find Rose again. What's going on here? We're next to Flash Gordon. Oh, that'd be cool. Captain Kirk, right? Pat McCoy give her a shot in the behind, Benny Hill style. Creepy arms. creepy hands. It's more or less a standard Phicen figure. Now, a lot of times they'll make figures a little different. So sometimes there's actually like a true different figure on these Vampirellas. And I couldn't tell you specifically this is just one of their athletic figures, or if this is a specific dead-on just Vampirella figure. I'm going to tell you I truthfully do not know. It looks like one of their regular athletic figures. But the fact that there's no nipples on there leads me to believe that it might be cast specifically for Vampirella. This is the diorama. Again, no hole. I think this was the. Gosh, I don't remember. I think this was the first one. I think this was the second one. And oh my God, where's his little finger? There's a hand that's coming out of this one as an accessory, and he's missing the finger. I don't know how the hell that happened. How the hell a finger just fall off the diorama? Jeez. I probably dropped it somewhere and didn't realize that the finger was gone. Oh well. So there's the diorama for this one. So I suppose you could store this way if you have space problems. Or this way. I don't think this would necessarily be the way that you would put it. It says dead in tombstone. What that says on there. But it's just like a resin base. That's all this is, and I suppose you could drill a hole in it and stick a figure in it, or maybe I don't know if it'd be possible to tap one into it, or not. I don't know if you could be able to screw it in. But I just have a hard time doing that to this. So I precariously balance them on here and hope that they don't fall over. So there's not enough room for 3 figures on that. Not enough room for 3 figures on that or this. So I'll definitely be using 2 and or 3 figure stands. Dioramas, for fact. That's my dilemma. Oh, you're talking about creepy arms. You're talking about Dr. Strange. Thanks, sorry. Supposed to be more horror-like. Oh, yeah, I'd heard that. Is that where Mobius is coming? Someone corrected me and told me he's not a vampire, not a vampire. And because I'm not familiar with him, but I thought he was. Somebody said he's not. I don't know. Sometimes what I try to do on these, okay, what this is it's going to be a magnetic style box. It's going to open up, and you can see that sort of 2 pieces of cardboard come to right here on this corner. Okay, so it's designed for you to rip this plastic clean off and then open this up like a book, a magnetic book. I try to keep these in the plastic. So what I'm going to attempt to do is just cut the top off. See if I can't push her through. So that's my intent. Exact on that. I'm going to put 3 incisions here. By the way, this channel is for ages 13 and up. These collectibles are adult collectibles. And 99.999% of them say at least ages 15 and up. So there is a thing called Child Online Privacy Protection Act, which is to keep people from taking advantage of the minds of the young people. And so YouTube requires me to let you know and let them know whether or not this show is intended for children, and it is not. And YouTube knows how old you are when you're watching these videos, believe it or not. And so if you're under the ages of 13, please leave. This show is not for you. And we will be saying probably some bad words. Like shit, piss, motherfucker, goddamn cunt. Not on purpose, though. Not like I just said there. I would never just say that. Okay, no, she's not going to cooperate. This isn't going to be this isn't going to be a separate piece. I'm not going to be sliding this out. But this is a really thick plastic. It's like thicker than like the typical Walmart bag. It's more like the reusable plastic bag. It's thicker. So I try to keep this for these guys. I'm going to try to slide that back onto it. This will be my goal. When a spaceship from Earth crash lands on the dying planet Draculon, the remaining dying inhabitants, the Vampiri, or Vampiri, send Vampirella to investigate, only to find that the pilots from Earth have blood flowing through their veins. Blood which at one point in time flowed in the rivers throughout Draculon, and now have since been put through drought, causing the inhabitants to die off. Vampirella is able to pilot the spaceship back to Earth, where she becomes a good vampire and devotes her energy to ridding our world of all the evil vampires. So, celebrating her 50th anniversary in 2019 as a pop culture icon, what started as a comic magazine in 1969 quickly became a phenomenon for the readers of the time. Vampirella's legacy has been marked through the years by contributions from the top writers and artists, with Jose Gonzalez's version being one of the most iconic images of Vampirella. Dynamite Entertainment, Executive Replicas, and TB League are proud to present the 50th anniversary 1/6 scale Vampirella figure based on the art of Jose Gonzalez. Choking hazard, recommended for ages 15 and up. Says it right on there. Copyright 2019. It's interesting. It says something about replacement, even if it's damaged. Let's see what this has to say. I have to get the glasses out to read this fine print. I mean, this is like micro print for real. Notice this package is intended to protect the product itself. Only replacement requests will not be considered, even if it is damaged. Talking about the package. Final product may slightly vary from pictured phototype. Product may need a few steps of assembly to be completed. Please keep your purchase receipt. Thank God Big Bad Toy Store gives you one. The receipt is necessary for customer support services. After sales service will only be provided for first-hand purchase via official channels. And by the way, that's the way it is on Hot Toys and any other figure. If you're buying it secondhand and it gets damaged, or if it's never been opened, and you have bought it, but you bought it from somebody on eBay or some other collector, you're on your own. There's no service that's officially provided for anything, a Hot Toys, or anything in that regard. It's only to the person who bought it originally. So keep that in mind. By the way, and this is artwork from the comic. This is artwork from the figure here on the sides. Phicen started including instructions with some of their figures recently. You see, there was no instruction whatsoever. TB League, formerly known as Phicen Limited PL, seen this body as the crystal of PL team's collective painstaking effort in 3 years. Great passion. PL team has conducted countless tests and finally made it. The body is anatomically correct, gives a fleshy, tactile impression, and can do a lot of actions that average real-life people could do. This is really just a basic, generic instruction on the figure. Says it has between 22 or 28 points of articulation, 22 for 1/12 scale bodies, 28 for 1/6 scale bodies, both with detachable feet. I think there's still an attached feet body that's available, but they're moving away from the attached feet because they're so difficult to get standing. I love the attached feet figures for some characters. Some characters, I want a nice, beautiful ankle. And I don't care if she won't stand on her own. I will put her in a pose stand, hold her up. Some figures I don't mind if there's an ankle, but by golly, I'd like to seamless ankle. And I would really be sad if they totally did away with that. I wish that there was a seamless wrist at times without an interchangeable hand. Just totally seamless. Head only. Just straight down all the way to the toes. Nothing coming off. That would be great as well. Kind of like a Barbie. On rare occasions, I think that would be a good thing to have, truthfully. Now, Hot Toys actually used to come like this in styrofoam as such, by the way. So this suit is looking very SHCC-y. Matter of fact, it's like the exact same suit as SHCC Vampirella. Initial reaction here. See if we have a cloak or a cape underneath. We do have some accessories, including a cape. Little hook fastener on it. No wire, so it'll literally just drape. I'll more than likely put one of them in a cape now. The SHCC one actually came with a black, kind of like a, I don't know, a long shirt also. Thin little shirt. I don't remember this knife being in any of the other ones. Little knife there. Totally made of plastic. Some knives come in metal. This is definitely plastic. And I don't remember there ever being one of these. I'm assuming this goes on to her thigh. These are the bracelets that are on the Asian version. Right there. For her, not her wrist. All three of them come with a bat that can be put on her fingers. I do not remember if all three of them came with the skull. To tell you the truth. Little holes in its head for the hands to go in. And the hands hold it well. That's not glued in there. That's really her hand holding that skull up. Just shove them right in there. This is a bracelet that comes with one of them also. Or armlet, maybe. Va-va-voom! You have both versions, I do. So it's good next to Flash Gordon or Camp Kurt. Right, great figures. Are they all seamless? Yes. He gave you the finger. Anyone see Dr. Sleep? It was a good movie. Basically, The Shining Part 2. Didn't know that even Ian McGregor plays the little kid all grown up. Really? Good movie. Felt like part Star Wars, part X-Men, part Shining. So, of course, the money on this one's going to be the head. Right? That's what you're really paying for. I mean, if you don't have a Vampirella, you're paying for a Vampirella, right? But if you have a Vampirella, as I do, it's really the head. The body so far looks very much like the SHCC. Um, uh, what they've given me, more or less. I don't know if it's the same body or not. So on her hand, these hands, she's kind of holding them like this. That's what's on her body. Then we have two of the straight, relaxed hands, non-grip, just hands down, fingernails. Really super long fingernails on all of the Vampirellas. These are just like the other hands. And then you have the two kind of clawing, gripping hands. This is the hand that will go into the skull, hold the skull. The right hand does. And this is the left hand. So, as you see with the SHCC, I have, or the upturned left hand and the right hand holding the skull. And in the Asian version, I have just the straight, relaxed hands, just straight out, with the one holding the bat and the other of her hands just straight down. So that's the hands that I chose with that. Why would I not then go with the grippy hand? Especially because we have a dagger. I'll put the dagger in her hand. By the way, there's a President Trump figure made by Hero Toys. Supposed to be shipping real soon. HT001. Pretty good likeness, I think, of the president. Comes with two head sculpts. $138, I believe, the price. You want a President Trump figure? One of the hand sculpts it comes with is the middle finger. I've never seen President Trump give anybody the middle finger. I'm sure he's done it in his lifetime. Don't believe he's beyond doing that. I don't believe anybody's beyond doing that, truthfully. I'd have a hard time believing that there isn't. I have a hard time believing. I would assume that there's probably very few people in Western culture that have probably never ever in their life given someone the finger. I'm sure there is. I'm sure one of you all have never in your life given someone the finger. I've given something the finger. It's definitely pretty understood by all, right? The Phicen figures are very, very, very articulate, very posable. I don't feel like just jacking her around. You can see any other Phicen figure, and it has the same movements. She can be totally positioned pretty much however you want, just like a gymnast. There's very little limit to being able to move her into position, and I'm just not going to jack her around. I'm really not. I'm sorry. Um, I have some other Phicen videos. You'll be able to see them get posed about, and I'm just not going to jack her around. I'm really not. I want her to be able to stand on her own, so I'm going to do very limited twisting and bending of her, not to make her joints any worse than normal. But she looks very much like the SHCC body there. I don't know if that's too much light. Get some of this light back. Stainless steel skeleton. There she is out of the package. Nice muscle definition on her. And you can see she stands on her own. And she will, as long as I don't start jacking with her, bending her all out and loosening her up. And that's fully my intention here, is not to jack with her. But fully articulated at the ankle here. The boot can be moved about. I mean, everything. 28 points of articulation is not even the beginning of trying to explain how articulate these figures are. Now, here is a difference in this body. Again, if you remember, I'd showed you I believe it was the Asian version. She has no nipple. There's the SHCC, no nipple. There's nipple on this body. It's not colored, but it's definitely formed. And both of these ladies are nippleless, just a breast. Jose Gonzalez Vampirella has a nipple. I don't know how important that is to you guys, but it's a fact. There she blows. And it's not colored, but it is there. Maybe just a little bit of slight pink into it. So the first Vampirella figure that has that on it. There's definition on the Mons on all of them. So they all have that region there, has that definition. But this one actually has nipples, where the others did not. Let's look at the head sculpt. Gonna wrap in bubble wrap, and then with the plastic on her, breathe some life into her. The SHCC came with 2 head sculpts, by the way. The other one has this like bloodlust tongue coming out, licking her lips. Not much care for that one. This one is looking off to the side, kind of with this interesting thought on her mind in her face. So she's got something devious planned. What is she thinking? What's really going on there? The Jose Gonzalez 50th anniversary Vampirella. And the hair is black, jet black, compared to SHCC hair, which is, again, a dark, super dark brown. As a matter of fact, I would actually say it's blacker than the Asian version hair. So now, in comparison, the Jose Gonzalez Vampirella makes the Asian version hair look brown. Very interesting. There you go, side by side. So now I would say she's truly jet black, and this is a dark brown. Or let's say black, jet black. How's that? So we actually have three different hair colors here. All black, but not really. And the lengths, again. So a little bit longer than SHCC hair, but definitely not as long as Asian hair. Three totally different figures here. Or, well, head sculpts. Yeah, I know figures too. So now I'm pleased very much with this third edition because of her differences. She definitely has this look about her that's like, hmm, that's a good idea. I like how you're thinking type of a look. A little deviousness going on in there. I like that. What's on her mind? What's really going on in there? She's got earrings. Get them outside her collar here. Her little earrings are not cooperating. Kind of lost in the collar and the hair. There's her earrings. In comparison, S8cc, same earrings, and Asian version, no earrings. No earrings whatsoever in the Asian version. Skin tones appear to be identical on these figures. It's not like there's a difference in skin tones on them, from what I'm able to discern. Suppose if I had like a color card, I might see some difference, but I don't. They appear to me to be the same skin tone, all three characters. So there we have her, standing on her own. On the promotional footage here, they have the thigh piece on the same side that they put the armlet around on her brace on her arm. You can dress your Vampirella however you wish. I don't believe there is any like 100% factual position where all this stuff belongs. I may be wrong. Slide that up her thigh there. One of my Phicen figures, this handstand wrist peg comes out whenever I remove a hand. And that's real frustrating. So this is supposed to go up over this elbow. I suppose I should wrap it in plastic to get it up here. Difficult getting past that elbow. Definitely gonna have to wrap it in plastic to get it up there. No doubt about that. Hair seems to be unevenly cut. See that? Little chunk there. Maybe it's layered, front and back. There definitely seems to be a difference from this grouping along here and this grouping along here. I'm no hairdresser. I'm sure you can tell by my wonderful hairstyle that I sport, but I don't know nothing about hair fashion. I've seen people who are really adept at stylizing their natural hair figures, and I'm blown away by the people that can do that. I've seen this one collector redo the Infinity War Black Widow. Oh my God. She took that blonde hair, she cut it a little bit, colored it a little bit, styled it. Holy smokes. It's just like the movie. Great job with that. You notice also how when I have these posed, I put very little bending in the elbows and the knees. I've heard people claim that these figures they fall apart. Now, I had a Stretch Armstrong when I was a kid, and sure enough, his body just disintegrated. Corn syrup in there just broke everything down. These are not have corn syrup in them. They're not Stretch Armstrong, but I believe it when people say that these figures can break down, fall apart, whatever else. I've been fortunate never to have that happen to my figures yet. But at the same token, I try not to put them into any specific permanent style bending, hard bending. I'll just put like a little bitty bend into their arms and legs. So that's the elbow bend on that one. Same thing here. And that's the knee bend that I put into it. I have Phicen over here where I totally have her kneeled. I've used them for a few years now. See how she looks. In regards to a standing, being stored into a bent position for a while. And again, I'm not sitting here jacking with these figures all the time. They pretty much, when I put them into a position, that's pretty much how they stay. That's her knees. I don't see any specific degradation there. She's been in this kneeling position for a couple of years now. I'm not out here repositioning, reposing them all the time. Not handling them, touching them. Put into position and they pretty much stay. Now the others will get moved around occasionally. But for the most part, these guys don't touch them much once they get into a position. So as of right now, here's what we have. And these ladies will find a place. They will all three be together. Maybe each one on their own pose. Let's put the cape on her. See how that works. And I tell you what, after seeing this, with the differences between the other two, it does make me want the Carol, what's the last name? I was just assuming it was just going to be another exact duplicate of these others, and there's really not. There really is some difference to it. This cape is difficult to control here. It's a hook and loop. I just can't get the hook into the loop. It's not a cloth loop, it's not a string, it's actually a piece of plastic or metal. I'm assuming it's plastic. That you hook it into. There we go. Put a little bend in her elbow to keep the cloak open some. The cape. There we have her. Jose Gonzalez 50th anniversary Vampirella. Something to this manner is how I'm looking right now. What do you guys think? So there we have it. There she is. I will probably be placing the bat and the other hands into storage with the other Vampirellas. Curious now if I have them separated or if I just very ignorantly place them all into one drawer. UV. All one drawer. Jeez. I'll be able to show you the other head sculpt. I need to catalog these, each one in their own drawer now. This was the alternate head sculpt you could put onto the SHCC Vampirella. I thought she was just a little too, I don't know, not much care for it. It's a wink, and she's licking her lips, little blood dribbling down out of the corner of her mouth. That's the other head sculpt of SHCC. So you see her right eye is closed, left eye is open, and she's licking her lip there, corner of her mouth. So truthfully, if you wanted to buy, another Vampirella, you could put this head sculpt on there. Carol DeMaio. Carol. is her name? Evidently, from my understanding, though, she was supposed to be cast to play like a live action Vampirella in a movie or something. Cara DeMuro? I don't believe it ever came to fruition. That's who this new Vampirella, not this one, but the one that's available for pre-order now. I think it's still available. Yeah, so we have 3 bats now. They each come with a bat. We have 3 skulls now. Interesting. One of the skulls is white without any fingers in it. So I'm assuming that came with this one. So this one you wouldn't be able to stick her hand into. So I'm assuming this is the Asian version. I'll have to look it up. There's no finger holes in it. And the skull is white. A different cast. Like fangs on this. With the teeth. You see that? I think this is the Asian version skull. We also have a different handset in here as well from somebody, where kind of have a little more relaxed first finger coming out, kind of like a, I don't know, a feeble attempt at a point. If she were a gun wielder, I would call it a trigger finger. But one of the ladies came with hands that have a little more finger out, which would be great, I suppose, with the bat. Maybe I'll change out that bat hand and put this on there. But you see, it's really like a gripping trigger finger hand, but she's not a gun wielder. There's no way with that on there that would work. I thought, though, that one of these came with like a cloak, and I have that in the bottom of this. I'm positive it was Vampirella that came with that. The second one, the SHCC, so maybe that's what it was, with a little crossbow. Let me find that. There was a time where I did not catalog these pieces very well. I started going back and doing that. There's a Spider-Man drawer. Strange. I'm almost positive SHCC came with like this real thin black coat. And a crossbow. Interesting. Must be in my box. I have a box of stuff that hasn't been gone through yet. Guarantee you that's what that is. Guarantee you. And so here we have her like perfectly standing on the table, right? She stands well. We place her on this diorama, the whole surface is uneven. She won't just stand here. Now, with Lady Death, on her dioramas, there's actually these little foot pegs that you can stick her onto the diorama. There's no such creature on this. So in order to get her here, we're going to have to find a place where she's going to want to stand. And so she won't be standing here on her own. Not for a while. But there you have her. And again, if you feel so brazen or inclined, you'd be totally capable of drilling a hole in any one of these and then putting a articulated or a solid post stand in there to hold this. Or even a crotch grabber, I suppose, if you desire, carving out one for that. But I have never, and I've often contemplated it, and I might. But once you do, I mean, you've permanently positioned it. This is the shiniest of the three, by the way. This one's a little shiny, and this one's not very shiny at all. It has a wet mud look to it. This one does. I suppose if you wanted to put them all together, something to that effect. So what else is going on in your guys' lives? What have y'all been up to? The eyes look so real. I'm really impressed with all the Phicen figures. I mean, I really am. And the Hot Toys now, they've really gotten to a point where the way they paint the eyes and all that, oh, it's so surreal. Absolutely so surreal. Next week I've got this guy to open up. The Hot Toys. Star Wars MMS 511 R2D2 Deluxe version 1/6. And be comparing them to all of the astromechs over here. So they'll all be brought out. Everything will be right here on the shelf. Look at them all. Hot Toys made one previously. The difference between the Hot Toys and the Sideshow is the die-cast dome. This one did nothing but lights and sounds. He didn't do anything. Doors don't open up. He's just a figure. That one does everything. Comes with every conceivable option on him. We'll talk about that. And when this came out, I was afraid that they just used the Sideshow mold, and they didn't. It's their own mold. Lots and lots of differences between this and the Sideshow astromech. By the way, we will get into that next week. On the Asian version, use the root coming out of the ground to balance. Is there any way you could do that with the base that came with this one, maybe with the skulls? Let's have a look. And yeah, so I had both of them on this, if you remember at the beginning of the video, and she really wasn't using necessarily the root. She was really standing on her own. But yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. But yeah, they were definitely, for the most part, standing on their own in here. And as there. And a little bat and finger. I think I'll change that hand out right now. going with the bat on this figure. Let's use that handout. I guess she was using the root, wasn't she? Now let's see how we go with this. But SHCC is totally standing on her own. I guess Asian really was using the root. The skulls there, they're not really, how would I describe this? They are kind of angled back. So they're not, they're at a slant. So there's really no, even from the bottommost skull here, even this bottommost skull is set back from the earth. So there's nothing straight up or slanted forward enough to be able to get, just looking at this without trying yet, to be able to get a leg against that skull there. They all are kind of pyramidic shaped, triangular, ascending into a pyramid or a cone, if you will. It doesn't appear to be anything that's out further than where the bottom of the mud and the muck are there. But looking at this, I guarantee you there's a spot that I can put this in easily to have her stand. Just as SHCC is so much standing on her own, we could do this. Just a little bit of finagling. And I'm sure we'll be able to get her into a type of a standing on her own pose. Again, my object is to not jack with her so much that I've loosened the joints. So she's resting on nothing. She's just sitting on the ground there. And there we have her. That'll be good. What's that take up? Approximately 13 inches wide, right? That's well enough, right? About 11 inches deep. Thirteen and a half inches tall, right there. Not a bad way to stand them, in my opinion. And I don't have that much room. I don't believe I even have that much room over there. I swear I need to buy a Detolf. Oh my god. Sheesh. Depending on what I will be buying this year, I think I'll be getting in-game Thanos. The battle damaged one, right? And Nebula. Oh, I'm so back and forth on whether or not to get two Nebula. Because, like, what? The only difference is the gold. And they didn't, according to the prototype or the release figures, they didn't include that little piece in gold. So I'm so like, gee, should I order two of them and just paint one of them gold? You know what I mean? It's almost like good Nebula, bad Nebula. Right? I will not be going back to buy old villains this year. Maybe next. I've got to get a Hela back. I really miss my Hela. Got to get a Hela. Still chasing down the original Avengers Loki. Still want to add that to my collection. Still need to get a Netflix um, Punisher, Frank Castle. Got to get me one of those. He's an anti-hero. I would like to get an Odin, right? For the Thor bunch. I need to get my Killmonger. I need to get that. Again, he's kind of an anti-hero, right? What else is Drax? I do not own a Drax. So badly need a Drax. Really badly I need a Drax. Who else am I missing? I need to buy an episode 4 Luke Skywalker, or the original Star Wars Luke Skywalker, and a Ben Kenobi for the land speeder. Who else do I need? I need the black suit Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and the red suit Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So I need those. It's funny, these are needs, right? These are my needs. How many figures have I named so far? Like close to 10? Who else do I need? I know there's somebody else that I'm forgetting. Caroline Munro, thank you. Thank you. That is her name. Thank you. I couldn't remember her name. After looking at these figures comparatively, I'm really enticed and leaning very hard on getting the Caroline Munro. When the Caroline Munro figure was announced, and I hadn't even received the Jose Gonzalez yet, I was like, come on, how many Vampirellas do I need? For real. It's the same figure, was my initial impression. And you're killing me with, in Iron Man collecting, the haters out there want to call them repaints. You're killing me with the repaints. But after seeing these three standing next to each other, and even though she's very similar to the SHCC, that head sculpt really does it. And it really tells a whole nother story. And the fact that they've upgraded the body to a different body than these two bodies. I am probably going to go pull the trigger on the Caroline Munro version. Really, at first, kind of like how I am right now on the fence with the Thanos, Battle Damage Thanos, or the final in-game Thanos. I'm like, really? I already have the Guardians of the Galaxy Thanos. I already have the Avengers Infinity War Thanos. I've already ordered the in-game Thanos, the first release of that. And I'm like, how many more Thanos do I really need? That's 3 already. Do I really need that 4th one? And so I'm really struggling on the battle damage Thanos. It's hard to want to drop $400 some on that. And I think the Carol Munro is pushing $300, isn't she? Isn't she like $350 or something? I don't remember. But I was like, how many Vampirellas do I need? But after looking at them side by side, as they are right now and here, I'm really now thinking that I probably am going to pull the trigger on her. Probably going to add her to the collection. And I'll tell you, I've never read a Vampirella comic or a Lady Death comic. So there's no connection there. Unlike Spider-Man comics, where there for years I had read everything that come out on Spider-Man and had read back issues and it just was gobbling them up left and right. And Tony Stark from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, totally consumed by him. I know very little, if anything, about Vampirella. I just love the Phicen figures and the sexiness of them. So she's just a sexy figure. So I enjoy owning her for that. And looking at the Caroline Munro, seeing this difference between the Jose Gonzalez, the Asian version, and SHCC, I'm actually kind of thrilled to see how the Caroline Munro stacks up next to him. So, only because I've looked at them side by side today, do I have any desire to add the fourth one. Where before I was like, yeah, what's the point? Don't need it. I've got them. Got enough Vampirellas here to tell a story. But, each one of these really are different. Although they're very similar, each one truthfully is different. So I am probably going to get the Caroline Munro. And thank you. I couldn't remember her name. Thank you very much. Do I think it would be worth $300 compared to the other figures? Right. Um, I have my Killmonger standing on the Wakanda throne, Interesting. To give him more of a presence. Standing his Ultron Prime, Thanos, and Whiplash. Think he looks awesome. That sounds really awesome. That really does sound awesome. I like that. I kind of feel like if you have the Battle Damage Mark 85, having the in-game Battle Damage Thanos to complement him would be awesome display. There's a full-on, totally battle damaged Tony Stark head sculpt out there now that I believe is available for pre-order. If you really want to make your Mark 85 look like it's, how he was. And I'm really on the fence on that too. Do I want a dead and dying Tony? You know what I mean? That image, which never made it into the movie, which has been circulated, the deleted scene of all the Avengers kneeling or whatever in respect to Tony as he passes, it's a pretty cool, pretty strong image, and it requires specifically that Tony in order to be able to do that. Or if you're wanting to do, that final scene when Pepper tells him it's okay. But I do have the Mark 85 battle damage on order. I don't know what I'm going to do with it though. Really, I really don't. It's interesting story there. You know what I mean? How much of the story do you really want to be reminded of? Even though it's classic, the Edith glasses, even dead, I'm the hero. It continues on the whole thing. It'd be interesting to see in May how Tony plays out in Black Widow, because he's rumored to be in the movie. And I really have a feeling that we're going to see the resurfacing of the Mark 47 in it. And possibly the 48 and 49 will be explained to us. Who knows? I know a lot of you have some pretty strong opinions about that. I'm still hesitant to believe that the rescue suit is the Mark 49. It just doesn't make any sense. I cannot wrap my brain around that. Even if Kevin Feige were to call me up and be like, dude, the rescue suit's the Mark 49, I'll be like, no, I'll pull like a comic book guy from The Simpsons. No, can't be, because the 4 digits on the 49 and the fact that it's a nano suit, and the first one that's full on nano suit and she fully knows what she's doing. And I can't believe for 1 second that for 7 years she's not been given a new suit, and that's exactly what she's been wearing. And even though Tony says that she doesn't wear anything that he ever makes for her, it makes you believe that he made that a long time ago and never got improved. Hard time with that. He's improving everybody's suit, especially his. Even War Machine has suits that he's improved, even though not as much. Hard time believing that his heart and soul, which, well, he loves himself the most, of course. But I would believe that his second biggest love would have to be Pepper Potts, would have to be, after himself, would have to be Pepper Potts. And I can't believe for 1 second that he made her one suit. It's way beyond my fathomability. That's what he did. It just doesn't make any sense. And it just doesn't make any sense for it to be the same numbered suit as suits that he makes. I can't believe for 1 second that he wouldn't have made her a Mark 1 rescue suit. This is your suit. This is the first one I made for you. Bam, Mark 1. And what she's wearing is the 49th iteration of her suit. I really have a hard time believing that he's just like, I got that Mark 49 over there. Go put that on. Just doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Take my scraps. Take that junk over there or whatever. Just wear that. Don't believe it. I don't believe it for 1 second. Of course, his child would be a great love as well. and the love that a man has for his wife, I will say, it's probably, I can't imagine why he wouldn't love his wife more than anything, except he loves himself. Tony really does love himself. And, but surely Pepper would be his second greatest love. And then his daughter, I would imagine that's the tier of his passion. And I really have a hard time believing that he gave her some scrap, used the old Mark 49 suit that he had laying around. So here you go. You can try this one. And by the way, it happens to be my first full-on nanotech suit. I have a real hard time believing that. I really do. Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, and Wasp, Captain America Endgame, QMX Sulu on my list. Yeah, I can't wait for my Ant-Man and Wasp to come out. I don't know what's going on with that. One question that I don't know what to do with is the time-traveling suits that they made. What do we have so far? Obviously, we have Tony. Did they ever even announce a Captain America version of it? I don't remember if Captain America was ever pre-ordered. I know that they showed it to us, but I think the only one we have is just Tony. So here's the question. Do you buy the others? Do you buy the Tony and just put the head sculpts on them? Put an Ant-Man and put a Captain America and put a who else would there be? A Hawkeye? Would you put these different head sculpts on there and just buy the Tony, buy multiples of them? Just change out the head sculpts. Of course, we don't have a Hulk. We wouldn't have a War Machine. And we wouldn't have a Rabbit. There'd have to be a fat Thor in there too. I was, and of course a Black Widow. I was really hoping that they would make these specifically. If nothing else, give us a Rabbit, a raccoon, a Hulk, a Black Widow, and a fat Thor, right? At least give us those. At least. It's almost like as if the only one we're going to be getting is going to be the Tony one. Kind of as and by the way, the group wore this suit at one point. And if you want to make them appear to be the others, just change out the head sculpts. That might truthfully be where we are. I don't remember if they made a Captain America one or not. Help me out there. Remind me if they did. I feel like the dead and dying Tony Stark is this a little bit too much. Yeah, it bothers me a little bit as well. It really does. It pulls on my heartstrings. It's a very memorable scene, but I don't know if I want to pose him into that pose. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to memorialize that as what I look at it on my shelf of my Iron Man. I don't. That's a real struggle. Dead and dying. Yeah. I have some of the same figures to get them in different poses, and there are slight differences in each figure. Talking about the Vampirellas, is there some other slight differences? Because there are. I tried to go over those today. The SHC, the Asian version has the most differences in the suit and the boots specifically. The SHCC and the Jose Gonzalez have the most similarities, specifically the suit and the boots. But the body is totally different on this than these two. I believe these have very similar, if not the same body. But and these two suits they appear to be identical. But each one of them has enough difference in them that I'm pleased to have all three of them. And again, the head sculpts are totally different. Even like I said, even the hair, different shades in the hair. The blackest, so dark brown, black, and jet black. And the lengths in them, there's a lot of differences that a collector or a passionate person in regards to a connection to Vampirella will easily be able to say, oh yeah, I see the total differences in there. If you're showing it off to your next door neighbor or somebody who isn't even really sure what it is you even collect or why you have these, will be like, oh, so you got 3 Vampirellas. Oh, okay, isn't it a little overkill? They won't even notice differences. But you and I will easily. And I pointed those out to you today, I believe, in the video. Do I have any of the one half size figures of the TB League? I think you mean 1/12 scale figures of the TB League. When they first announced that, I planned on getting a couple of them. I was going to look at them, and I did not get them. Um, I have seen somebody take a Marvel Select head sculpt and put it on them. And when I first saw them, I thought they would be great like children. So like if you're doing, wasn't Wolverine's, was her X-23? Wasn't she a child? And if you wanted to do a Tony, but then as I started looking at them, they're a little more mature than what a child would be at that 6-inch height. You know what I mean? So I never got any. And also I looked at them and I thought, God, that'd be neat to put some wings on her or something, make her like a little fairy or something to that effect. And no, I never did. I stick with 1/6 unless there's a reason for there of being a different scaled version. For instance, Ant-Man and Wasp obviously are multi-scalable characters, as well as the Hulk. The Hulk is a multi-scalable character. So I would buy, for instance, a 1/4 Hulk. Because, from my understanding, especially with the Ang Lee Hulk, which I guess is canon, believe it or not, he's appears to get larger the angrier he becomes. Plus, if I could find a 1/9 scale, not a statue, but a 1/9 scale figure, which would make him probably if he's at 1/6 scale, if he's 16 inches, 1/9 would make him 12 inches. So a 1/9 scale Hulk would make him 12 inches tall. If I found a 12-inch tall Hulk, that would be a great transition from Bruce to Hulk. And so yeah, I would collect those, but I really don't have, as of right now, any need for a 1/12 scale figure. I don't collect the Marvel Select or any of the 6-inch figures because I have the 1/6 scale, except for the Ant-Man and Wasp and the Yellow Jacket. So I have the 1/9 scale King Arts Yellow Jacket because Hot Toys promised us they would be giving us a Yellow Jacket, and that's long gone. I guarantee you there will never be a Yellow Jacket made by Hot Toys. So I have a 1/9 scale Yellow Jacket. I have a 1/9 and 1/12 and all the many multiple iterations of the Ant-Man, different scales all the way down to itty bitty little teeny weeny guys. And same with Wasp. I bought a 1/12 scale of Marvel Select and the other one I don't remember. I think the Hasbro, and one of them looks really good, and it will be really cool posed with the Hot Toys one when the Hot Toys finally comes out. So maybe if I wanted to perhaps make a Van Dyne Wasp into some type of casual clothing, I think a 1/12 would work for that. But I've never done that with any figure where I just said, let me buy a Phicen and make her into a casual clothing version in that regards, except for Obadiah Stane. I grabbed the head sculpt that came with the Ironmonger and put him onto a Hot Toys body. I think he's on a Loki body I bought off of eBay for $60 or something. I don't remember, and put him on that. Unless I'm getting a figure that just the outfit and requires a body. I don't see a need to make a Hope Van Dyne 1/12 scale without a suit Wasp. But no, I have not. But if it ever becomes a reason to do that, I would. But as of right now, I cannot think of one to do that. But I imagine they're great. I imagine they are perfect, especially for you 1/12 scale collectors, a 6-inch scale figure collectors, if you want to swap out things. But I don't think any of the 6-inch figures come with just outfits? Aren't they like a molded plastic suit? Even if you get like a casual clothed figure, she's still molded. You can't like take the outfit off and put it on there. I do have, for instance, that Deadpool that I did that with the 1/6 scale. There was a Deadpool that the suit came off of the body. That was very interesting. So that became my kid pool. And that worked out well. And he totally fits in line here with the rest of them. Um, I suppose a Phicen would have worked if they've made any male 112 scale figures. I don't think they have yet. Have they? But no, other than that, unless I was trying to make like Tony's kid daughter or X-23 or whatever she was, Wolverine's kid or clone or whatever she actually was. I can't think of any other reason why I would need a 112 scale Phicen figure for my collection, for what I've got going on. Tony Cat War Machine. Did you ever watch the Falcon? I have not. They're up now. I'll have to check that out. Tony on his knees, like an in game. I think you will regret not doing that pose. Yeah, I think you're probably right. I like I said, I'm still struggling with that. I don't know if that's what I want to do with my Tony. You know, it is the culmination of the end. It is what all of it went to. When you think back to Jon Favreau and the first Iron Man, and if you watched any of the videos where he's talked about that, and it was just very loose. It was very loose. The acting was going loose. The directing was going loose. They were totally changing things on the fly. And hey, let's try this and let's do that and let's go in this direction with this and let's change how we've got going on with that. It really wasn't. Hell, they weren't even sure there was going to be an Iron Man 2 at that point. You know what I mean? It was just like a bunch of guys just getting around shooting a video and making a movie. And it turned into something amazing and stupendous and wonderful. I mean, with the Ang Lee Hulk, even, there was still that question. With the Andrew Garfield Spider Man, there was still that question as to whether or not, and the Tobey Maguire episode 3, as to whether or not a comic book franchise would even be something that you could make money off of. Avatar was making money hand over fist. But the question was, are comic book fans, are they interested in giving us $1 billion, for instance, for a movie? And they weren't so certain that that was even going to happen. And then, of course, as it came, as it progressed, especially with Iron Man 2, they started putting the clamps down on things and saying, no, this specifically has to or cannot happen, because they had a plan of where they were going. Now, did they have that plan of the end game at Iron Man 2? I don't know. I don't know. But obviously, that is the beginning of the end, or where it went. And Robert Downey Jr. has made money hand over fist. He has made so much money off of this whole franchise. Everyone involved, I imagine, has made a good little chunk of change in everything that they've done here, and it's amazing how it's come along. The comic book movies back in the day were very cheesy, and even like I said, Spider-Man 3 and Ang Lee's Hulk really were not very well done, and it kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Iron Man 3, same thing. There's a lot of people that don't care for Iron Man 3, and I enjoy it. We get all the suits, but it's part of the story. So to put Tony into that pose, that is the question. That really is the question. Do we want to see a defeated, dead and dying Tony? Is that really how you want to remember your loved one? I don't know. It really was the proof of the pudding of who he was. Even though he loved himself more than anything, he was totally willing to die for the cause, if you could call it that. He totally sacrificed everything he was to right everything. If that makes any sense as well. That classic scene where Thanos is like, I am inevitable, and there's nothing. The Infinity Stones are gone. And Tony Stark's like, and I am Iron Man. That is amazing. That moment, I am Iron Man. That is one you want to remember. But dead and dying, I don't know. Really, really have a hard time with that one. I don't know. He says Iron Man in the first movie. and then in his last movie, I Am Iron Man. That's the pose I think that you want right there. What do I think of the TB League Purgatory figure? Man, I wanted to buy that and get the bat and the other related winged figures. Again, I love, love, love the Phicen figures. I really do. And they're reasonably priced considering what you get. You get a very accurate looking figure, and I love the colors. I do not own the Purgatory figure, but I really wanted to get it. The only one that I never really had any desire for whatsoever is this one that they came out with recently. I think it's from the Sideshow characters of the Court of the Dead. I think is what it is, where her arm is like blackish and then goes to a different shade or whatever. That's probably the only one I ever looked at and said, nah, I don't even really care about that. But all the other Phicen figures, I've always had just this little thought of that'd be a great one to own. But you always want to keep in mind in collecting these 1/6 scale figures, because of the size and space involved in storing these, is you want something that means something to you for real. If you're looking at a figure and there's just no connection there's just no passion, no desire, you don't get any goosebumps or any recollection or any pleasant memory that comes to you, well, why do you have it? Especially when you're dropping $300 or more on them nowadays. Why do you even own it? And the Alien Girl, Hot Toys Angel series, Alien Girl was one that I never had any connection to. I love the Alien movies. I love the Ridley Scott's Alien movies. I love the Predator movies. And just never had any connection to it. And I don't remember if I sold her or she's in the box in the garage. She's not even on display anymore. I just thought that she was going to be something that I had some pleasure out of, and I never looked at her and just thought anything like, "That's cool," or "I like that," or "It looks great," or it just never spoke to me. Same thing with the mask. Love Jim Carrey's mask. Love it. I bought the Asmus mask figure, and there was just no real connection there. It was just nothing that ever just spoke to me and grabbed me and said, "Yeah, love the movie." The movie's a great movie, but I just never, the real estate of what he was occupying just didn't do it to me. You know what I mean? I didn't look over at him and just think anything. I was reminded of the movie, but it just was, I don't know, there just wasn't a connection there. And so that goes along with Purgatory and the Bat and all the other amazing Phicen figures of, do they warrant real estate? Do they warrant a place of honor? Do they warrant, 12 inch by 12 inch or 14 inch by 14 inch cubed area to store them at? And I haven't pulled the trigger on them, but I go back and forth on that all the time on the Purgatory. I really do. I love that red color. There are times when I think to myself, sure, it'd be neat to have like different Star Wars characters. For instance, the red, what are they called? The ones with the black stripes on them. Somehow turning one of those, the Purgatory, into one of those, or a Twi'lek, a blue one or a green one, or something to that effect. It'd really be cool. And it's just one of those things when I don't even have the money to get the figures that I really want, let alone to get figures that I kind of only halfway want. When I'm unable to track down, when I'm unable to pay the price of a Netflix Punisher, or of an Avengers Loki, or of Odin, or a new Hela, or a Drax. If I can't pull the trigger on those, and those are the ones that are required in my collection, I have a hard time spending $300 or whatever on a figure that I only kind of halfway have a connection to, like Star Trek. Oh my God, I would love to have the QMX line of Star Trek, the entire one. I love my Picard. Thank you very much. That was a gift from one of you guys. I really love them. And Star Wars. Oh my God, huge Star Wars fan, and would easily, gladly buy every single Star Wars figure they ever made. Kind of General Grievous would be an amazing addition to my collection here, and just can't pull the trigger because there's so many of these Marvel figures that haven't even made it to the shelf yet, you know? And that's the struggle. That really is the struggle. But no, I can't believe that you would go wrong with any Phicen figure. Not for 1 minute. If the Phicen figure speaks to you, pull the trigger for fact. I cannot imagine passing on a Phicen figure for doubt. If the figure speaks to you, I don't believe for 1 second you're going to be disappointed. At all. I don't. Not at all. One of the Sideshow Phicen Court of the Dead figures, yeah, that is coming out has tattoos on the seamless. I've never seen that before. Yeah, they've really started doing some new things. Like I said, that one, I think it's a Court of the Dead, where like her hands start off like black or burnt or bloodish or something, and they come up to about right around here, then it goes into the regular skin, and that's a new thing too. And they've really been working on advancing their things. They made a who was it? This Z girl, I think was what it was, like a zombie girl or something. And then there was another one where the guy had like the three girls that came with her. Forget who that was. And those kind of were like dirtied or whatever. And that was interesting. And then of course they made up. I think it was another one that was kind of like all battle damaged. Can't remember who that was. But they have experimented in the changing of the skins on them before. So they're really becoming more serious. It's interesting how they've progressed. Phicen has, and they're really getting to be a major player in this whole thing, you know, and they're really shining. They're really becoming a shining star in regards to that. They really are. So, what else you guys got? Have we come to that stopping point where we've talked about just about everything there is to talk about? Time to wrap it up and get the heck out of here. Had you now for 2 hours, just about. So thank you very much for tuning in. My wife is doing well, and which makes my life well. Now that the weather's getting nicer, it'll be car show time. I'll be taking Bumblebee out to car shows. I'll still be here Saturday mornings. I've got the R2D2 coming up next week. I don't have anything planned for the week after that. If nothing else, I'll be doing, I guess, a room tour, maybe. Really need to buy a Detolf. Maybe I'll buy a Detolf and put something in those. Maybe I'll find some other shelving system, put them in there. I entertain building shelves, kind of like that, the Maji cases, making my own shelves and doing that. All these different things that go along in the thought process of it all. That's really what I've got going on. I purchased the Queen of the Vampires. Oh, yeah. How was that? I can't figure out how to get the top to stay on her breast. You know, I had that same problem with the Lady Sparta figure, who eventually became that pose of the slave. I just took the top off. It would always just slide down. And Lady Death, I think, had a similar problem, but she hasn't slid down anymore since then. I don't have any good advice for that. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't have any good advice for that. If there was a way possibly of shortening, because I imagine it snaps in the back. I imagine there's a closure that puts it together. If there's any way of cinching that, possibly redoing how the snap is put together, be it cutting the material and shortening it, which is going to put it tighter around the body. That might be a way. Maybe if you were able to pinch the material in the back and super glue it, which is going to shorten that, which is going to tighten it on there. I don't know exactly what's causing the problem, but that might be a solution if that's how it's put on there. Because I know on the Lady Death and on the Lady Sparta, the bustier had nothing over the shoulders, and it just was supposed to attach underneath. and they would slide down always. And my Lady Death is doing well, so I'm assuming that this is what you've got, something to this effect. Let me grab my Lady Death over here. This was the version 2 Lady Death, and I'm assuming this is what you've got going on. And this is very similar to the Lady Sparta. Let's see if I can move these Vampirellas out of the way without knocking them over. Probably should just pick them up and move them. I'm holding my breath as I slide them, because you know that helps. Is that the type of outfit type of a thing that you have on that? And is that what you have? Let me look at my gotta find some way of displaying this. Yeah, here's the Lady Sparta bustier as well. So I'm curious if maybe there would be a way of reattaching that connection. If that's how the queen of the that you have, if it works the same way. And I'm assuming it does. I'm assuming this is what they've given you then, right? It just doesn't want to stay up. But if there's any way of cutting, trimming, reapplying, or shortening this, that would be, in my opinion, your way of doing that. If that helps you at all. Queen of the Vampires, Arcala. I feel like if you get a detox now, with how large your collection is, you will not have it for long, because you'll probably upgrade into doing custom shells or a new case. Yeah, that's pretty much where my thought is on that as well. And that's why I just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on that. But I really want to do something with my Spider-Man. I really probably need to just build cases for real. Just buy some plywood, maybe some plexi, maybe some real glass. I don't know, and just build a case for them. I don't believe I'd be happy with any other case, truthfully. I think though the Detops now, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a couple of years back they were like $100, and now I think they're like $60 or something to that effect. And they're easy to get, they're easy to assemble. You know, they quickly will solve a problem without having to design anything and do any real building. But you kind of are assembling it. So I don't know. I watched Denobi's Modu Case video. And the entire time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, hell, I can build me one of those. Break out the table saw, drill bits, screws, design one. Then again, hell, I've said that about, I could build a car from the ground up. Yeah, right. Hell, I could build a house from the ground up. Yeah, right. Hell, I can paint me a figure. Yeah, right. So you always have you always have that struggle. Oh, I can do it. No, you can't. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. No, you can't. Well, I probably shouldn't have got involved in this. That was more than I really wanted to do. But one of the things I was telling you about on this, there's actually little posts in the Lady Death. I'm not going to. There's little posts that stick up on each of these sides. And then the bottoms of her boots have little holes in them. And you just stick them right in there. And as long as the ankles still stay nice and tight, she'll stand right in there on these posts that were designed for her to stand on. So on this diorama base, they put some thought into that and did that. They didn't do it with the Vampirella one, so I don't know why. But again, it's contingent upon those ankles staying strong. And should those joints ever become so loose that she won't stand on her own, well, then you have, that problem there. So that's, like I said, it's the one thing that always bugs me is that there's no permanent display ability on these dioramas. But it does afford you the freedom of being able to pose them any way you want. And with a little bit of care, a little bit of time, you can get them to stand up on their own on the diorama base. No doubt about it. But if you happen to live in an earthquake zone like my friend Chartemis does, yeah, that's insane to do. Or if you happen to live someplace where a big truck might drive by and shake the house, or an airplane flying over might cause it to come down, or if you just happen to be a heavy stomper and you're walking around the house all the time, yeah. Or if you got cats or dogs or kids that could possibly shake your case, they are literally, through the magic of gravity and physics, standing on their own. But it wouldn't take much. Hell, I come in here just the other day. Who was it that had committed suicide? One of my fingers had totally dove off. My gosh darn BB-8 was on the floor. Who else was on the floor? I believe it was Stan Lee was on the floor one day. Loki was on the floor one day. It's like, how in the world? What is going on here? How are these figures just committing suicide? I mean, I know Deadpool over here popping around on his own whenever I'm not in the room. Because every time I turn around, he's got something in his hands that he shouldn't be having that belongs to somebody else. I know he's out here moving on his own. But I have no idea how these figures are just jumping off of the shelf. For real. And it's not like a bunch of them. I was coming in and one of them were on the floor. I'm like, why are you here? Why did you fall over? What are you doing on the floor? And it just blows my mind every single time. So these guys specifically, but so far they've not found themselves onto the floor. I'm very pleased about, if you can imagine. Very pleased about. Yeah, $60 now. I think they were $100 though. It was like a couple years ago. They were like $99 or something. But yeah, I seen the other day it was like $60. I was like, that's a lot more within reason. I mean, hell, I paid. What did I pay? I think $15 or $20 for these little storage cases. So I think it was a great investment right here. And I put in there, the accessories. And I started putting a little row of blanks. So as a figure comes in, it's easier to reposition them instead of having to reposition all of them from, Agent Phil Coulson all the way down to War Machine. As you go through there, and all of a sudden you have to move all of them to put one here in the middle. And now I have a row that I try to keep blank so that I can just scoot them around easier, repositioning them as they come out. So in alphabetical order. And then I bought also this guy here for Iron Man figures. This is a new edition here. Because Iron Man figures come with a little bit larger pieces. So I have like the 4s and the 6s in these bigger drawers here for some of the things that they come with. The arms and whatever else accessories are a little bit larger than those chest pieces and all that. So That's how I store my little accessories to go with these figures. Take a look when you get a chance. And what you see in the picture on her breasts do not come on the figure. Is there a glue or a two-sided tape that would work to hold them in place? I would not put anything like that on your Phicen figure. I wouldn't put tape on it. I would not put glue on it. I wouldn't do anything of the such. Specifically because this, how do they word it? Surgical grade or medical grade um, material seems to be very fragile. And putting any type of a chemical on there, and an adhesive tape has a chemical bonding agent, and that's how it works. I have a feeling it's going to dissolve your figure, and you'll be extremely upset at that point. I mean, you drop $300 on a figure, and you tape her piece up to it, and then the chemical composition of that glue that's in that tape, or anything that you use to hold that together, ends up breaking this material down. You are not going to be very pleased with yourself at all. I No, I don't recommend anything of that sort whatsoever on these Phicen figures. It's not like a hard plastic or a vinyl Hot Toys figure or any other type of action figure or collectible in that regards. The material that these are made out of, I can't imagine for 1 second putting any other type of a chemical component on it whatsoever. Nothing. I wouldn't recommend anything. So if any of you all have a recommendation, by all means, please share it in the comments here to help us out in regards to holding that up. But I wouldn't recommend putting anything on it at all. Have you ever done anything like with TB figures? I don't want to damage it forever, and that's my biggest fear. For real, it is. I mean, you'll hear collectors say all the time, "Don't put them into any exaggerated poses," because of the damage that could happen just from the breakdown of the material that these are made out of over time. Who's to even say where these figures will even be in 50 years? They may just dissolve into powder. Who knows? So anything that you can do to keep that from happening, you definitely want to do that. So no, I would not recommend putting any type of adhesive, nothing, not blue tack, not scotch tape, not any type of nothing. I wouldn't put anything on them at all in that. I would truthfully do my best to try to alter that costume. Anything you can do to make it tighter, to cinch it around, anything at all. Any way that you can make that tighter. Because I imagine it comes off. Does it come off? Is this the same type of outfit piece that you're talking about? I mean, if it is, you really have got to figure out a way of tightening that. That's going to be your key. If you can get it tighter around her body, it'll stay in place. But no, I would not recommend putting any chemical on these Phicen figures. I would not. Nothing. Nothing at all. That's my opinion. I would not recommend that. And this computer is so crappy. If I try to open up a Phicen figure page to look at that, I would literally just shut down my YouTube channel. I've got, I don't know why I'm so hard headed and don't just bring in one of the other computers that I have. I had so much difficulty with this computer 2 or 3 weeks ago that I literally brought another laptop in here and I was going to set it up and do the whole 9 yards in that manner. And I didn't. But I don't know why I don't want to not use this. Let's see, it seems to be wanting to cooperate a little bit. Let's go see if we can't get to that Phicen site. Have a look at the figure. See if the computer will cooperate with me and not totally freak out. Seems to be working well. Products. So I'm at Phicen.com. What? right, let's see if we can find this. What did you call her again? Queen of the Vampires, Arcala. On the first page. I don't see her on the Phicen website. If you went to Phicen.com, what page is she on? There she is, third page. The question is, pasties. Okay, they're pasties. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. It's not a bustier. It's pasties that she's wearing. And you're saying that they're not staying on. And they didn't come with anything? I've seen a Facebook page of this fellow that this collector that was taking Phicen figures and injecting a saline solution into their tummies to give them a pregnant appearance. And I thought that was pretty clever and interesting that he would do that. So along that line, I think if you intend to permanently pose those onto her, I don't know if on the back of them if they have any type of a sharp edge on them. It's almost like as if you might want to consider digging into the skin. But I don't know if I would use any glue for real. I probably would just pose her without them onto that, but they look pretty nice. Those little pasties do. Jeez. It's interesting that they would do that and not. It says one X bikini style top. I don't see a bikini style top in any of these photos. Just those pasties for her breasts. Doesn't make any sense, does it? That's a very interesting dilemma that you're posed with. How do you resolve that? Good question. That's not a bikini. And you know, bikini style top. I don't believe I've ever gone to the beach and seen a woman wearing pasties at the beach. Not here in the United States, at least. Maybe I'm confused. I don't know, man. That's tough. That's really tough. I would be so scared of destroying that body by doing anything to that. And they don't give you any inkling of a clue either, huh? Jeez. Yeah. And they don't have like any little hooks on them or anything, right? There's nothing like anything that would dig into the skin, like how the nails are on this, where I could dig this into the skin if I really wanted to. There's nothing like that on them. How they're just smooth as silk. I don't know. That's that's a that's a dilemma and a half. Right? Like I said, they used to not even include any directions whatsoever with your Phicen figure, so now they're actually giving you something, telling you about them. See what this says at all about caring for the body. They literally do say in this instructions to change the postures every 2 days. Do not keep the doll in any dynamic posture for a long time. Change new postures every 2 days, please. Interesting. I don't see anything in here, anything. Armature is wrapped in a non-toxic environment, friendly and medical grade material that is especially developed for TB League body, delivers a fleshy, tactile impression. I Good question. Sheesh. Wow. I would be interested to find out what you figure out. But man, oh man, oh man. I have no. If there was any way of getting it to attach to the body, I mean, digging into it. In my opinion, and maybe I'm very wrong here, putting a little hole in the body, and this is just my opinion, at that breast area where the nipple is, to find a way of fixing that in there would be better than putting any chemical on there, any glue or tape or anything. If you could find some way of sticking that in there. Maybe if you could get like, and again, this is crazy to even think this, but like doing like a thumbtack with it, you know, putting a real tiny little thumbtack into the back of that pasty, just so you can stick it into the breast area to hold it in place. I mean, that's insane to consider, but if you could do something like that, that might work. A real thin little piece of a wire. I mean, the smaller the better. Anything just to give it something to cling to. Anything at all that you could get, just a little something on there. I don't know. I'm really struggling here trying to think of any way to do that. It's weird that they created that and then didn't show you how to do it. But I would not recommend any chemical. Again, I would imagine a small little hole in an area that doesn't get bent. The breast area isn't getting bent or posed would recover or hold up from a little hole in that area would recover or hold up more so than putting any chemical on there, which could spread like a cancer and just dissolve that whole area. I would hate for that to happen. But I wouldn't put a hole like where a joint is at an elbow or an armpit. I certainly wouldn't want to create a hole in the body there that could lead into ripping and tearing and further growth of the hole. But in the breast area, there's no pressure, no changing, no bending or twisting or anything that's going on. If you could find a way of sticking it to that with some type of a sharp object, that's my opinion. But I don't. I really want you to think really hard on that before you're doing anything to that body of what could be happen. It might just be best to display her without her pasties on there. I don't know what to tell you. Really don't. That's a tough one. I wonder if maybe just simple water. I wonder if maybe if you just did like a suction to it, if you soaked that in water and placed it on there, and the water molecules allowed it to adhere, and then through the magic of physics again, if it would just stay adhered because it was just attached by the natural bonding agent of water molecules, and because it's there, it just stays there as long as you don't touch it. Have you tried just that? Just doing like just straight up water on it? That might be a very safe way of doing that. Try that. I don't know if it has like a concave um, surface to the little pasty to go onto the nipple. If it's concave, maybe it might work in a suction type environment with a little bit of water on there. Something to consider. They may look like suction cups, but I would have to push down hard to see if it would work. I like that idea. That might work. Thanks. They gave her a cloth top in the box. So that's the bikini top that they talked about, that's not in any of the pictures. Or any of the pictures that I see. Every one of them, she has the pasties. Great looking figure, though. Great looking figure. You know, another thing you could do would be spending $60 on just another Phicen figure and putting all the accessories and the head sculpt on that, and then gluing it onto it, and see how it works. At least then, if you've dissolved or destroyed your figure, it was just a $60 Phicen figure that you had laying about, and you still have this one. You know what I mean? That's tough. That's really tough. It's unfortunate that they didn't do any of that. Try the suction cup water thing. They gave her a cloth top in the box. Hey Siri, can I know any different die-cast Mark V suitcases? Can I know any difference die-cast Mark V suitcase and the plastic version? No, I believe it's the exact same suitcase. I believe it was identical in that iteration. I don't believe there was any difference whatsoever in the plastic and the die-cast Mark V. I think the suitcase was identical. Trying to think. I didn't separate them, and I've got 3 Mark V's, 2 plastics and 1 die-cast. I think they're all the same suit. I actually have 4 suits suitcases because I bought the exploding one made by God, I don't even remember who. But no, I don't think there's any difference in the suitcase at all. None. Remember correctly, it's the same one. If you check my Mark V unboxing, I'm sure I discussed that in comparison between the 2 suitcases when I unboxed my Mark V diecast. So if you want to look for a historical document, I'm sure you'll find a discussion on that in the Mark V unboxing diecast video. I do remember talking about that. But no, I don't remember if there's any difference. Like the water idea, I will let you know if it works. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. Oh, really that great because making custom Tony Stark racing suit with suitcase. Yeah, I've got the, I don't remember which racing suit version I bought. I think it might be a Very Cool Toys. I don't remember. And so I've posed him with his foot on the suitcase. And then, as I was saying earlier, I bought the exploded suitcase. Let me show you all of that. This exploded suitcase, it came down to the situation of me articulating the doggone thing to death, and I have no idea how it started off. But here is that. And I don't remember who made this, but it's really cool. It represents, before as he's getting ready to put it on. What a mess this thing has been since I've totally turned it around from, when they give it to you in the box, it's in a pretty good pose scenario. So all you do is just pull it out and stick it down. And now I've moved the doggone thing so many times around, I don't know how it was anymore. I should watch the video of me unboxing it just so I could see how the doggone thing went. But here's my Tony in his racing suit. And how I decided to pose the suitcase with him was as it was slid to him. And I think he stands on it there for a second, doesn't it? I think it's supposed to be turned the other way around, though. If I remember correctly, I think the handle was to him when he stepped on it to pop it open. But yeah, this is my Tony racing suit right there. I don't remember who made that. There's been a few companies that have made them over the years. This one's breaking down. Right there on the hips. The little vinyl material is totally just dissolved apart. Look at that. Just now noticed that. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just busted clean open. Right there. I've had him about 3 years, I believe. He's dissolving away. It's unfortunate. But I bought this one because I thought it looked the most accurate to the movie. And there at the knee, too. It's just dissolving away. Just coming apart. That's pleather for you on here on this side as well. You know, these people try to be environmentally conscious, and they make a material made out of chemical that just doesn't stand the test of time. And trust me, this guy does not get moved at all. That's how he stays. And his suit's just dissolving around him. Just a few years old. So that falls back into the discussion of the Phicen figures. Where will they be? A dozen years, 20 years, 50 years. Will they even be? Or will they just be a pile of powder as they dissolved into nothingness? It's really unfortunate to see this guy's falling apart. Jeez. Holy cow. So, if this is the one that you own, any of you out there, just take note. He's falling apart. Golly. That sucks. That kind of upsets me. That great cousin making custom Tony Stark racing suitcase. Have you ever contacted TB? I was thinking of asking them how to do it. I have contacted them. Back when I bought my very first Phicen figure, I actually bought it directly from Phicen back in 2015. I don't know how they would be in regards to contacting them now. But, hey, it wouldn't hurt. I got the Tisa 1/6 scale suitcase open frame, one not really bad. Yeah, that's it. That's what this one is. That's the open one, sure enough. Not really stable. No, it's not. Like I said, I jacked it around and moved it up and down and in and out, and I have no idea even now how it was originally supposed to be posed at all. I need to look at the video to see if I can figure out how it went together. But I have no earthly idea how I even got it into this pose or what the pose it was in originally. It's been so totally jacked with by me that I can't get it back into any type of a semblance of what it was originally. It's so articulated. Ah! Pieces are falling off. It's so articulated that it's very, very, very fragile in that regards. Very cool, though. I've wanted one for years, ever since, you know, they came out with the Mark V in the first place. First Mark V, I was like, how come they never made one that opens up? Right there, that's why. Again, you know, the more you move and pose your figures, the more chance you have of this happening. Where in the world did this piece come from? Right there, I think. It's so articulated. Look at this. Pieces are falling off everywhere right now because I'm touching it. Oh my God. I'll have to break out the old video and watch this. See how this thing goes together. If you get it, don't touch it. Take it out of the package. Put it where it belongs and leave it alone. How in the world does this connect? What in the world? I guess like that. Jeez. My goodness. Legos. It's Lego time, man. Break out the Legos. That's what it feels like. But it is cool. It's really neat to have. If I could figure out a way of putting it together to make it appear something other than what this gobbledygook mess is of a bunch of nothing, that would be cool. I need to do something with it. I need to do something with it. But yeah, this suit's falling apart. So it's cool that you're making one. And if you figure out to mass produce them and they're not going to fall apart, that'd be the way to go. Not like that yet. That one with the racing helmet. No, it did not come with the racing helmet. I bought a racing helmet. It was supposed to be 1/6 scale, and it's not. It's big. I mean, it's huge. And I have a Formula car over here as well that one day I thought about turning into the Tony Stark car, and I think I'll put the helmet on that. Yeah, it did. This was the helmet that supposedly was a 1/6 scale helmet. And as you can see, obviously, this wasn't very close to 1/6 scale. Maybe it is. Maybe it is truly 1/6 scale. But in comparison to like an Iron Man helmet, this thing is like monstrous. And it'll go over his head. But look at this thing. That's just huge. And that's supposed to be 1/6 scale. And maybe it is. And it will. It'll go right over his head. But it just looks so out of proportion. Maybe they are that big. I don't know. Don't believe they are. But I bought that helmet to go with this. And now where it sits is it sits with this little Formula race car that I have down here, or Grand Prix. I don't know the difference between Grand Prix and Formula and all that. But I have that down there with the intention of, one of these days, of turning it into a Tony Stark race car from Monaco. And so that's where this helmet sits. It's on that body down there. And one of these days it will get painted and customized to be similar to Tony's car. That's the intention. And I've had that about 5 years. Just sitting there. It was a remote control something or other. And I didn't buy it because of the remote controlness. I bought it because of the scale of it. I thought it would be a great little Tony car. Truly. Goes in with the Mark I Whiplash. Ripping it up. So that was how that went. I know mine too. I'm going to pick for you how I pose with that suitcase. Cool. Heck yeah. Shoot yeah. That one with the racing helmet is a great suit too. You should try it. Who made that? After a bit big, I think. A little bit big, I think. Yeah, that helmet. Yeah, definitely. Who made that one with the racing helmet? I have that on the Mark V diecast display stand, by the way. That's the stand that racing suit is on. Yeah, you think the helmet looks right? I guess because it's so much larger than an Iron Man helmet that it just looked like it was out of proportion to me. But I've never really paid attention to somebody wearing a motorcycle helmet. You know what I mean? It's probably properly scaled. It's probably dead on the way it's supposed to be. My Lady Deaths. Lady Deaths. Back. Lady Deaths. 2 versions 1 and version 2, and I made one of the versions 1's kind of a hybrid. So almost have 3 versions. Yeah. Wife is doing well. Thank you very much for asking. She says she is on the mend. Those are her words. On the mend. I'm always scared that she'll go back into the hospital. Big fear of mine, obviously. And it's unfortunate because every time she goes to the hospital, she doesn't come out better than when she went in. They resolve the problem that she'll be experiencing at the time, but she loses a little more of her life, literally. She loses her mobility, she loses her freedom, she loses something, her strength, her something every single time. It's just so unfortunate. It really is. So they will address the problem, the ability to breathe or whatever, which puts her into the hospital, and they'll send her home breathing better, but not breathing as well as she was before she had her episode, or without the mobility that she had, or atrophy of the muscles, which has reduced her strength and her ability to get about. It's really tough. So I'm not looking forward to any more hospital visits. I couldn't even tell you in the last 3 years how many hospital visits she's really had. And, in August she had her cardiac arrest. And she's been she spent almost 2 months in the hospital from that. Different hospitals. Because as you get better, they upgrade you. When she was in the first hospital after having the cardiac arrest, they're going to send her home under hospice care. And hospice is just designed to make you comfortable until you pass away. And so she's much better in that regards. She's no longer under that fear. Now she's under the same fear of we all are, that our life could end at any moment. But hers is a little more closer to reality of that than you or I are in that regard. It can happen to anybody at any time. But yeah, she went back into the hospital again a few weeks back, if you remember. And spent another almost 2 weeks in the hospital. Came out of the hospital not any better. Obviously, she could breathe again, but it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So, I guess like the good thing about all that is, really, every one of us are dying. The moment you're born, your cells are degrading. We're all headed towards death, inevitably, at that point. Or every one of us are going to, there's nobody that has figured out a way to cheat death yet. It's going to happen to every one of us. And, when she had her cardiac arrest, she did die. She literally passed away. There was no brain activity, no heart, no function. Her body was not working on its own under any circumstances. She was without oxygen for between 10 and 20 minutes, and she was, by all intents and purposes, dead. And they brought her back to life. And so now, every day since then is borrowed time. It's giving us, her and I, an opportunity to make sure that we've said everything that we wanted to say to each other. So, because that's the tragic of life. Whenever something tragic happens in your life and you end up losing a loved one or somebody that you knew, and you didn't have that chance to say what was on your mind or way you actually felt or whatever, because you always think, well, there's always tomorrow. And there's so many people that don't get tomorrow.
So I'm very thankful for all the tomorrows that we've been given from that date on August 22nd when she passed away. So that's nice. And I don't think that I ever had that uh, regret or doubt or feeling in my mind in the first place. I don't believe there was ever a moment where I didn't tell my wife or show my wife how much I loved her or how much she loves me. I don't think there was ever any need or desire or wish that we weren't communicating to each other in a way that we feel for each other. And I talked about that years ago that I've shared with you guys that don't just get involved with a relationship. Don't marry someone just thinking that you'll love them later or whatever, or don't compromise in a relationship. Make sure that the person that you are with really is the person that you're with. When it's right, it is right. You know, there's just so many people out there. You don't need to compromise that much. It's always a compromise, obviously. I'm always doing something to please my wife. My wife's always doing something to please me, but we don't feel like either one of us are going so far out of the way that it's bad. You know what I mean? When you are having to give 100% all the time to somebody and they're not giving you anything, there's a problem. You know what I mean? It's a symbiotic relationship where both of you should feel equally given and equally taken, that there's no relation to any type of resentment or anything. You shouldn't have to work that hard at a relationship. If you're working that hard in your relationship, you really need to reevaluate why you're in that relationship in the first place. And my wife and I have always had that great of a relationship that I don't believe there was any doubt in the love that we share for each other. And I would hope that every one of you could experience that type of a love with someone that her and I have had over the years. And it's incomparable, it really is. And I would hope that each one of you would find that in your life. And if you're not in that, you really need to reevaluate. And please, if you've ever are in a position where you're about to make that plunge, make sure that that is truthfully the right person. Don't think you can make it better. Don't think you can change them to be what you really want them to be. You know, and keep in mind that people do change over time, no matter what. But you know, there's certain fundamental things that have to be a requirement, I believe, in regards to having a good relationship. That you still have to have some type of a connection mentally. There's going to be physicalness that's going to change over time. I mean, you could find someone that you love because they look like George Clooney or Angelina Jolie or somebody that you find just super attractive, and you've fallen for that person because they're super attractive, and the next day they end up with a huge chemical burn and their entire skin just gets dissolved right off of them. Nose, ears, eyelids, everything gone. Lips, losing their hands and their arms, whatever else, and all you had was a physical attraction. That's going to be a tough sell. I mean, your looks are fleeting. Remember, we're dying from the day we're born. So don't let be happy if you find someone that's super attractive, or that you make yourself super attractive, that you work hard to maintain your attractiveness. I'm happy for that, and God bless you. But don't let that be the basis for a relationship or whatever you do. It's all about up here and in here, you know. And when you have that connection, everything else is good. And so my wife and I don't think I ever had a point where I thought, gosh, I wish I told her that. I wish I told her I love her. I wish she made me feel like I was loved. There's never been that. But there's always that point where some type of compromise has to be made somewhere. But as long as each of you respect and love each other enough, you'll know, okay, I'll give now, but I'll be able to take later. And you're not giving so that you can take. You're giving because you know that it's being given in the right direction. Somebody's got to bend. You can't always be the boss, but you also can't always be the underling. There's got to be that relationship. My wife and I have had a wonderful relationship over the years that we've been together, and I'm so thankful that we're on borrowed time. I really am, and I would hope that she would live another 20 years or more. But the reality of it is that unless something changes, that's not going to be the case. So, but she says she's on the mend, but I can tell that she's not as well as she was. So I encourage her to continue to get better, but I'm also a realist and realize the fact of what's really going on with her. So I've heard that the Iron Man helmet is physically impossible to be that size and to afford any cranial um, protection or brain protection. But I would imagine then that he fabricated the helmets out of vibranium. That's the only thing I can assume. He's made comments that the suits are not vibranium, but I would imagine in order for that skull to be protected, because if you knock your skull around, if that skull, if your brain rattles inside your skull, you're going to really screw yourself up. Um, they've shown us that vibranium literally absorbs impact, and Tony being extremely rich, extremely filthy stinking rich, should be able to afford enough vibranium to fabricate a helmet that would be shockproof. But no, I've heard that the helmets would not be physically capable of doing any type of things in regards to like a race helmet. So, and then of course, he would have to wear the race car helmet because, the race people have a specific requirement that everybody participating in the race has to wear a helmet like this. So he couldn't just come up and say, I'm wearing my Iron Man helmet because actually it's better than your helmet. Yeah, that ain't going to happen. They're going to say, Bill, I don't give a doggone. You're wearing that DOT approved or whatever helmet as you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, maybe that's why it is as big as it is. I'd like to send you a pic of my Vampirella and Lady Death fighting as in a comic. Oh, I bet that's cool. I have. How would I send them to you? Your email, siriapp@gmail.com. All the information is in the description below of how you can reach me. I have a PO box. You're welcome to send me something. If you want to mail me photographs and stick them in the mail, that'd be great too. My email and contact information is all on that. Facebook, 1/6 Scale News and Reviews. I would love to have administrators or people to post in 1/6 Scale News and Reviews. I would love to have you guys post in that. It'd be nice to see photographs of stuff in that site. Make him a TB body, but which one should I use for your Tom Holland figure? I don't know. If there's a Phicen figure for a Tom Holland, because Tom Holland's a young man. He's not an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Chris Evans. I don't know if they make a Phicen figure male body, because the Phicen figure male bodies are relatively new, a couple of years or so, maybe 3 years tops. I don't know if they make one that would be really good for a Tom Holland. It's a good question. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for your prayers. Yes, me too. Thank you for many, many more tomorrows. Exactly. John Doe, thank you. Thank you very much for wishing me well. Do I recommend getting the Hot Toys Mark 7 diecast? Yes, I do. Especially if you are only getting like one Iron Man. If you are only getting an Iron Man to represent the whole franchise, the Mark 7 for fact, especially the diecast. The diecast Mark 7 is amazing. They made so many changes to it. I love the Mark 7 plastics. Doesn't necessarily make you want to throw away the plastic. If you can't afford the diecast at $450 or whatever it is, I imagine you might be able to find a good price on a plastic one right now. I don't know what they'd be selling for, but the Mark 7 is a remarkable suit as it is, and it really speaks so much, so many volumes of Iron Man in the Mark 7. And I bought two of them specifically because you have to use the entire body in order to be able to do the pod. And that really pisses me off. It really does. I thought that was a big kick in the pants to have to require an entire Mark 7 diecast figure to be able to make the pod. That's stupid and asinine. And I hate Hot Toys for doing that. Yeah, I love my Mark 7 diecast. Where do I even have him at? Let me think. Here he is up here. It's up here with the other Mark 7s. The Subarctic and the Stealth. This is the Mark 7 diecast. What an amazing piece. Oh my God. Between the Mark 7 and Mark 47, which includes the Mark 46 and the concept, I don't know if I have an absolute favorite over the two, but if you're only buying one, Mark 7, no question about it. I was at first disappointed that he was satin or a matte finish, if you will, and not glossy like so many of the Iron Man figures have been over the years. But one of you guys pointed out that in examination of the movie, he really is the satin or matte finish. And sure enough, I went back and I watched the Avengers movie and Iron Man 3. And in both of those, it's not glossy. It's not a super shiny finish. It really is this matte, this satin finish on this suit. And man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. What a piece. What a piece. The Mark 7 plastics are configured differently. They're designed differently. They pose differently. And you can't go wrong with either one of those as well. And I don't know what a plastic is selling for now. Whether or not they're a bargain or not, I couldn't tell you. But if you're on the fence on a Mark 7, or if you're just buying just one Iron Man figure to represent your Avengers, Mark 7. Mark 7. Totally. I 100% recommend this. 100%. There's so many ways you can set him up. If you notice, I have him without the missile pack on his shoulders and without the missile pack on his thighs. Because this would be more or less, I don't know why I put the laser light on there, I just did. This would be more or less him at the end of the battle in Battle of Avengers in New York. So he's discharged his missiles, and even the face plate is gone. And so this is how I've chosen to put him. But there's so many ways that you can pose him, so many ways you can display him. I mean, hell, you would need 3 of them just to be able to display and all the possibilities of them. And what I'm truly hoping is now that the Mark 7 diecast is out, that they'll continue on the line of the House Party Protocol and give us the rest of the House Party Protocol. I pray Hot Toys to do that. I pray that you give us the rest of them. Give us the Mark 8 and the 10 and the 11 and all of those that are there that required us Mark 7 to make them. And if you want to redo the others, redo the others. If you don't, that's fine too. But I would love to have them. And one of the biggest things that they made an improvement on were these elbow joints here. And the plastic ones, it's rubber, okay? And they break apart and fall down and dissolve. And now they are properly created with little pieces of plastic. And I don't know if it's die cast in there or not, but it's not the rubber anymore that dissolves and falls apart. So they've made huge improvements, redesigned it, rescaled it, and just changed it up. And supposedly it's a lot more movie accurate than what it was. In the video where I unbox these, I show all the differences between this and the plastic one. And at first I'm extremely disappointed in this. I didn't think there's any articulation in it. I thought it was really poorly made. But then as I continued to explore it, I realized that there is great articulation in the feet and arms. And there's some problems I had in regards to pieces just falling off on it up here in the front. I thought that was kind of poorly done, or maybe it was here in the back. I don't remember, where the pieces were just falling off of it. And so it's not without flaws, but this is your piece. This is what you want right here, no doubt about it. Wholesome philosophy. Thank you, Aiden. Thank you very much. Sometimes attractive didn't work in relationships with many problems, and when they get old, everything's going to change. Yeah, your body goes to shit. I didn't look like this when I was younger. I looked like Brad Pitt when he was younger. I was clickety clack. I was on track. I was the man people wanted to be at one point in my life. Now I look like I was a fat, lazy old slob, and that's not the case. Your body just says, fuck you, we're going to do something different than what you want. Unless you're going to go out there and spend 4 hours a day at the gym, we're going to keep going in this direction. So can't tell young kids that anymore, man. They don't listen. Hell, I didn't listen. Did you listen when you were young? None of us listened. If we listened, things would be much different, wouldn't it? The Mark III helmet goes on it like 3 or 4 parts, but the Ironmonger pulls it clean off, though. Yeah, right? He sure does, and then crushes it. They, like I said, the original Iron Man movie was very loose. The script was loose, and they really weren't even sure. Like I said, there was even going to be an Iron Man 2. So they were just having fun. Jon Favreau made an amazing movie. It was turned into an amazing franchise, and later on they started making a little more concrete changes. In Iron Man 2, there's a deleted scene where he's able to step out of the suit, and they removed that from the movie because he literally 100% has to have a gantry put it on him and take it off of him. And it was the Mark 6 that he steps out of. Just walks right out of it. It just cracks open and he steps out. And that's not the case with that Mark 6. It has to be removed through gantry. The Mark 6 actually is a Mark 4 that was just upgraded. It 100% was. They had used the Mark 4 and what the hell's his name? Hammer is literally destroying the Expo, and he has to rush the Mark 4 into the Mark 6 with a new element, and he is literally just installing a new element into a Mark 4. It's really what it is. Mark 6 is the Mark 4 with a new element. 100%. It's not a totally redesigned suit. So the Mark 4 requires a gantry, Mark 6 requires a gantry. So they removed that portion of him just popping out of the suit. However, we see that with the Mark 7, he did have that ability to exit in and out of the suit. So he made that huge change with that. Obviously, the Mark 7, flew to him and then wrapped around his body. And so that was a new thing. So the Mark 6, they had initially put that in there because it was such a loose script and nothing was written in stone at that point, and things weren't really going into the line of where in-game was going to happen. They can make changes like that. That was one of the changes they initially had put in there that they decided to scrap, and thank God they did, because it just wouldn't have made any sense. Why would he be able to eject out of it so quickly? Just walk out of the suit, which he did. And I'm glad that they removed that and didn't make that canon. That was really good. It would have been really bad for that to be a case. Should have cleaved his head clean off, right? TB Bruce Lee body, I think, a little bit bigger for Tom Holland. So you think that might work? Yeah, that might be a good thing. In my opinion, Mark 45 paint looks way better than the other marks. Where's my 45? That's the one I've got over here fighting in Civil War, right? 45 is Civil War. 43, 44, 45, 50. It's so neat. Each one has just a little variant. Sometimes a little more orange in the red, sometimes a little more blue in the red, and it's what makes it so fun out of collecting all of these. Each one of them really is a whole different suit, especially with the Hall of Armor. These bad boys back here. Jeez Louise, the 9, and the 15, and the 20, and 21, and 22. Man, I'll tell you what, if they re-release the Mark 21, then you'll know it's on. If they give us the gold Iron Man Mark 7, essentially the Mark 21, then I'm going to say all bets are that we're going to get the Hall of Armor. The House Party Protocol suits 8 through 42. So, truthfully, there are suits that they wouldn't need to remake. I don't think they need to remake the Igor or the Mark 39 or the Mark 40 or the 41. They need to make 37. They never made the 37. That's the deep sea one. But there's many suits that those specifically, 39, 40, 41, I don't believe they would need to remake because of the Mark 7. Again, the Mark 33 and 30, I don't know if they would need to remake those. So it's not like they would have to redo all of them. But there's many suits they never made. The 8, for instance, the 10, the 11, the 12, 37, 16. There are many suits that just never were fabricated, and I would love to see them complete the whole thing up. Even the guys like Terrence, who I believe is out in Singapore, who has probably the absolute most complete Hall of Armor House Party Protocol, because he kit bashed them and had friends of his fabricate pieces for him. He still doesn't have the 37 nor the 16. I believe it's the 16. The nightclub is the one that are unique pieces, and he's missing those pieces in some of the other suits that require those pieces. So I would really like to see those. I don't think you need to make the 25 and 26 again, Thumper and Gamma. I don't think you need to make 35 and 36, the Red Snapper and the Peacemaker. I don't think you need to remake those. So 35 and up don't need to be remade, in my opinion. Just thinking about it off the top of my head. And 25 and 26 wouldn't need to be remade. But I don't know about the 17 or the 15. But definitely they need to finish out the House Party Protocol for fact. But suits like the 20 and the 21 would definitely need to be remade for fact. The 9 would have to be remade. That's my hope. That is my hope. Yeah, MMS 500 right there. MMS 500 sure is. One of my favorite MCU moments is when Tony fails to blast the Ironmonger because he has taken off his gauntlet, which they'd include that accessory. There's more figures and statues. I don't remember that. But it just like goes up. There's nothing on there, just a hand. Oops. 45 Age of Ultron. 40, 40, 43, 44, 45. Yeah, my 45 is in there. Thank you. Right? 43, 44, 45. 42 is Iron Man 3. 43, 44, 45 are Age of Ultron. So my 43 must be in there. This must be my 45 here then. I have to go through the sequence even to remember where they all are anymore. This must be the 45. Right? No. This is the 43. So here's a 43. That's a 43. Hulkbuster's 44. This is the 45. That's the 45. Right jar. What I like about the 45, looking at it now, being reminded of this figure, is it's really the first one that looks the most, what do they call it? I forget the term now, but the one that looks the most form-fitting or out of his body. Like, was it Extremis? Was it the Extremis armor? You know, the sinewiness of the calf there in comparison to the 43. The 43 still looks like a suit. This one looks like a body, if that makes any sense. And that's what I like. And then it continued from here into 46 and the 47, where it just maintained this
form-fitting portion. It's him. It's not really a suit that he's wearing. He is the suit, and that's what's so nice about this. As I'm looking at it, I'm reminded of that. It gives that appearance of he is Iron Man instead of wearing a suit, which is what he's doing with the 43, obviously. And he's still wearing a suit, but it's more him in this. And that continues with the 46, Civil War, 47, Homecoming, 50, 85. I wish about Mark 48 diecast with banner inside. My question is that really the Mark 48? Or did he make that specifically for Bruce Banner? That's a stretch, really, that last thing I said. Because Bruce was gone. He disappeared at the end of Avengers. He had no idea where he'd gone. He just took off. And, of course, we found out where he was in Ragnarok and all that. But in the comics, Iron Man, Tony had made a buster for everybody. He had a Thor buster. And he made the suits that were designed specifically to fight or ward off everyone. And I wonder how that Mark 48 came about. Was that really the Hulkbuster 2? Was it really a scaled down version of the Hulkbuster Mark 44? I really don't know. We really don't get much of an explanation. But it was funny that Bruce was trying to control it and he had to learn how to operate the doggone thing. Quite interesting story in that regards. But we just assumed it to be a 48 or a 49. Just like we assumed the Hulkbuster is a 44. I don't believe there's anything anywhere that specifically states that the Hulkbuster is the Mark 44. I know you and I have called it the Mark 44. It came after the 43 and before the 45. It fits in that perfect line for that, and there's been nothing else that said anything else with the 44. But I don't think any time ever that anyone in any canon, anything in the movies, did they ever say this is the Mark 44 Hulkbuster. I don't remember that at all anywhere. I don't. What I do like is in Iron Man 3, on this forearm, he actually has MK42 written on there where it's numbered. I do like that. And in the Hall of Armor in his garage, he has the Roman numerals, Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, etc., up to Mark VII. So the first 7, he definitely used Roman numerals to number them. But the Mark 42, we actually had our numbers. I forget what they call these, Arabic numbers or whatever, where it said MK number 4, number 2 on his forearm. But it's funny when Pepper comes in and she's like, what is that, like the Mark 15? And he looks at his arm and goes, yeah, something like that. And it said Mark 42. So that leads me to believe that all of these suits, someplace on them, should have a number. So even that Mark 42 specifically should have on that forearm a little Mark 42. And they do that. They do microprinting on them. The Mark 7s up there, the Subarctic and the Stealth, have microprint all over them. I mean, it'd be little words that are written on the suits. So there's no reason why they couldn't put MK42 on the Mark 42. And they never did. Hot Toys never did. And but I think it should be on there. It specifically should be on there because we see that in the movie as he's sitting there on the couch and Pepper comes in and he looks at his arm and he's like, yeah, something like that. And it says right on it, Mark 42. No question about it. But I can't even keep track of them anymore. I don't have them labeled. I don't have them on their own little bases because the shelf is so short. I mean, they are literally touching the top of the shelf. All these guys are in there from the bottom of the next shelf. They're from here to there. They're so close to that shelf that there's no room to even put a little figure stand on them. It takes up the entire bookcase here that I have. So I really need new shelving for that. I can't even keep track of who they are anymore. I have to think and look at them and try to figure out what
sets them apart in order to be able to remember which one is which. Just crazy. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So, thank you very much for tuning in with me. 3 hours, guys. I love you guys. I really appreciate all of you spending your time with me, and you sharing what you're doing and giving me your advice, and correcting me when I'm wrong, and talking about what you guys are doing and what excites you. And it's a great hobby. It's a great collection. It's so funny whenever I tell somebody, what these are. Like, what are you doing Saturday? Oh, I have a video that I host. Of what? Oh, toys that I collect. What kind of toys you collect? And then, all sorts of things come to their mind. Star Wars figures and Masters of the Universe and Barbie dolls, and everything comes to their mind. And I tell them 1/6 scale collectible Hot Toys, and that doesn't tell them anything. Again, they're like, "What the hell is that?" And then I try to explain to them, it's 1/6 scale is the 12-inch action figure. Oh, like Barbies. I don't collect Barbie dolls. They're 1/6 scale collectible action figures from, specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Iron Man figures. Oh, I see. And they have no idea. They don't. But you guys do. And so it's nice to have kindred minds and like spirits to discuss this with, and to share our passion, because we really are. We're very passionate about our figures and our toys and our collectibles, and we love them to death. And it's so funny. I like when I'm watching Pawn Stars or whatever, and somebody will bring in something, and they don't even have any idea what it is that they have, and they're wanting to pawn it off. And they're like, "Yeah, I bought this at a garage sale for $10." And they'll have some expert come through here and say, "Oh yeah, this is a 1930 blah whatever else. It's worth $6,000." And they're like, "Great, I'll take $6,000 for it." Now, mind you, they only paid $10 for it in the garage sale, because whoever sold it in the garage sale didn't have any idea what they had. Of course, the Pawn Stars are like, "Man, we ain't giving you $6,000. That's best case scenario at auction, blah blah blah, and you're paying 30% fees, yada yada, blah blah blah. We'll give you $1,500." And then they start bickering over it. "I don't want to take $1,500. I got $10 invested in this. I want my gosh darn $6,000. Blah 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 blah." Well, that's the same thing that's going to happen to my Hot Toys figures, right? So should I die and they get passed on to whomever I have assigned them to go to, they're gonna be like, "Oh, what is this shit? $10 a piece?" And I'll be like screaming from the grave, "No! Do you not realize what you have there? Go to the YouTube channels, watch the videos, and then sell these doggone things." But who knows? Who knows? That's why we hold on to the boxes and the shipper boxes and everything, because we would hate it to become like an Antiques Roadshow, where they come through and in you brought something and they're like, "Oh yeah, what do you know about this chair?" "Oh, I don't know. This is passed down from my great-grandparents to my grandparents to my dad to me, and it just keeps going to the firstborn son, and I really don't know anything about it." "Oh, well, this specific chair, let me ask you, do you have any of the others? It's a dining room chair. It came as a complete set of 6. Do you have the other 5 chairs?" "No, I've got just this one." "Well, it happens to have been owned by George Washington. It's a 250-year-old chair, blah, 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 blah. And if you had the other 5, this chair alone would be worth $1 million. But since you only have one, and you don't have the box, you don't have the instruction manual, it's only worth $60,000, And that's what we fear. We keep all the boxes, we keep all the details, we keep all the information, and we try to make sure that this can be passed on to somebody, even though we will never sell our figures. And then we buy the figures that have absolutely no value to anybody, but they're a filler piece. We've got I hate to say it, the Maria Hill. Love my Maria Hill figure, but nobody's knocking on my door wanting to buy my Maria Hill. And I ain't selling her, but she's not going to be that. She's not going to be that $2,000 piece. Now maybe she will. Maybe in 50 years, she'll be that $2,000 piece. The Antiques Roadshow people will be sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, this is the Maria Hill. They only ended up making 100 of them because nobody wanted to buy them. They didn't produce many in the first place, and this is one of 100, and she's worth $60,000." Who knows? Who really knows? So that's the beauty of our collection. So Noble, thank you very much, man. You're the first one in the channel again. So glad to have you guys. I love every one of you guys, and appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share. Tell everyone about the show that we do here Saturday mornings. It's morning for me. I chose 7 o'clock in the morning because I'm all the way on the West Coast, and I figure East Coast is what now 10 a.m. is when that starts, and out there in Europe it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then all the way on the other side of the world it's nighttime. And I figured that by doing that, it gives the majority of us the opportunity to be here, where it's a good convenient time for a live show, because only in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, however many miles that is really the ones that are in the middle of the night, and people are it's the most inconvenient to watch this. And of course, you can watch it anytime you want, but the live ones gives you guys the opportunity to interact with us, and that's what we want. I wonder how if I could set up a podcast, if that would be any different. If I had like a call-in show, if that'd be any different. I really don't know. It's things that I just don't have the knowledge on in regards to that, but would be open to do or try anything like such, and have guests in here, and actually get you guys in here more, instead of it just being my show. Make it your show and our show. That'd be great to do. And there's a lot of people making YouTube videos now where they're talking about exactly how much money they make on these YouTube videos, and I will tell you it's 0.0001 cents per thousands is how we are paid. And I average between 1 and 2 cents per thousand. Not 1,000 views, 1,000 clicks. So when you're watching the video, whenever an ad comes up, if you let the ad play or if you click on the ad or whatever, that's how we get paid. So if a video has 1,000 views, you don't get paid jack off of 1,000 views. But if it's 1,000 ads that run, if you don't have ad blocker on, or if you click on the ad, and per 1,000 clicks, 1 penny. Cents per thousand, 1 penny is what I get. 10,000, 10 cents. 100,000, $1. That's how that works. So add that up. There's no money being made here. It's all about love and fun and sharing the videos. So that's why the ads are there. I enjoy getting a little bit of kickback off of all this, but it certainly doesn't pay for the figures. It's all about the hobby, as it is with you. We're buying these because we love them. I'm not making money over this. Really not. So I do have a Patreon if you guys want to contribute, and I have a P.O. box. You can send me figures or anything you want. Love every one of you guys. Thank you very much. I'm going to let you go, and see you on the next video. Next week we're going to be doing Star Wars R2-D2 and all the comparisons of all the astromechs, all the R2 units, R5 units, the BB-8s, C-3POs. We'll bring everything out that I got. We're going to go for broke. Really go into it. So thanks. Let's close this out. See you on the next video. Love you guys. Peace.